Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining the webinar. My name is Tom. I head marketing at CMS IT Services. We have two elegant speakers with us today, Sunil Menon, and Sunil comes with 18 plus years experience in the area of enterprise solution and currently heads the digital application practice at CMS IT. And Salman Khan is a solution architect from Liferay, who is responsible for partner enablement. He is also a public speaker, speaks frequently on open source and security on open source. A couple of housekeeping rules. All the participants will be muted during the session, but we encourage you to ask questions using the chat option. I would request Sunil to start the session. Over to you, Sunil.
Okay. Thank you. Tom, am I audible?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us to discuss this topic. It's an important topic, delivering business value, leveraging digital experience. But I cannot possibly start without referring to the current situation in the world and indeed in our country. I hope all of you are doing well and you continue to take good care of yourself during these challenging times. We announced this topic a few weeks back before the impact of this, the current situation was not really to this extent. But I think the events of the past few weeks makes digital experience an even great imperative for everybody in IT and non-IT and across industries. So in today's call, what we will do is we'll construct a business case. Before I go ahead, I'd like to say that owing to the current situation, some of our colleagues are working remotely, and because that you could experience a little bit of disruption in voice or data. I apologize in advance for that, though we have taken abundant precaution to see that your experience is not affected. See, in today's call, what we'll do is we'll construct a business case for digital experience, which is what I'll do in the first half. And after that, my colleague Salman from Liferay will take you through the technology approach that Liferay has adopted to match those business imperatives. Okay. Now I'm just moving on to the new slide, where the next slide, where why? I mean, let's first understand why would one go digital. The meaning of the term digital is something that has continuously evolved for almost 20 years now. In fact, digital has been there even before. But during the beginning of the internet era, a simple static presence in the internet as a web page would have meant that you are going digital. Many companies would have said so, and many companies did not even have that. So the definition of a digital organization has evolved rapidly owing to the parallel development of multiple technology pillars. So speed of internet is one such basic pillar. The availability of connectivity was a major step forward. Parallelly, the evolution of convergence of telephony and internet, coupled with major strides in fintech, made sure that the digital aspect is a key business driver for most businesses. Now, digital impacts the entire cycle of the supply chain and finance, etc. It helps the business interact with all stakeholders. Naturally, the nature of digital is still evolving thanks to the continued research in continued research in all these areas. So digital experience has to reflect all these areas and all these technologies which are continuously evolving. So the business models that have evolved for digital businesses are much more attractive. I'm sure I'm not the first person to tell you that the world's largest taxi company does not own a car, and the world's largest hotel company does not own a single hotel room. So digital business models have made an asset-light business approach very possible, and aggregators are just one of them. So it coincides with a generation of tech-savvy customers who are capable of navigating the entire world and all that they need with their phone. So, however, even before my case for a digital business model will not be complete without telling you the example of Asian Paints, which I learned recently while listening to one of the top equity analysts in the country speaking about Asian Paints. Now, Asian Paints had invested in supercomputers for advanced data analytics when many people in our country had, or even in the world, had not even seen a computer. This analyst said that Asian Paints bought a supercomputer 10 years before any IIT owned them. To me, that's a case of technology that leads business change. Now, let's see how the results have come about for Asian Paints. Asian Paints is a gold standard for investor returns. Any great equity investor will tell you that Asian Paints is a very, very solid returning stock. While most of us know Asian Paints as a brand, which is also due to some of their digital initiatives, what may be news to you, it was news to me when this analyst told me that, is Asian Paints delivers paint to each dealer directly multiple times a day. And more importantly, they are able to predict the type of paints that would sell for each dealer in each of the districts of the country, and they deliver accordingly multiple with an unbelievable level of accuracy. In one stroke, the tech solution for Asian Paints has touched the customer, the dealer, the investor, while making the life for their employees much easier. So that is the case of Asian Paints, which I wanted to relate to you before going through the next level of detail. The availability of information is one big factor that has done a somersault over the last 2 decades, if you notice, because see, the amount of it's become a problem of plenty now. It's not about not having information. About 20 years ago, 25 years ago, information was not available to the extent that we like. Everything was not at our fingertips on a phone or even on the computer. But that has changed. So you can find information, resources with even country borders being no bar to a large extent, and technology is not a big constraint either. Most technology can be acquired with a little bit, or if not, no capital investment. So when Asian Paints went and procured the supercomputer many decades ago, it was a big expense for Asian Paint. In today's scenario, the cost of technology for that kind of computing can be accrued in a very granular manner, which in a very value accretive manner to the business, thanks to cloud computing. So by no means is this information on this slide exhaustive, but the point that we are trying to make is that the digital organization today has complex internal and external interfaces. The technological options and the validation processes are evolving as they are complex. Data flow, process management, and the manner in which machines interact with each other and with man, and machines interact with man, has also changed drastically. The digital experience should embrace that complexity and eliminate the confusion. Digital experience approaches should be flexible and agile. The digital experience, one could argue, is a base business and technological decision. What is the experience that you want to provide for your stakeholders? That question will result in multiple business and transaction scenarios. If business experience of a supplier should result in his being able to track payments due, etc., then the ERP finance module should be able to give that input to the supplier portal or the mobile app. Should that same supplier have a brand experience while navigating? That's an important question. And should that experience be consistent across all the channels that the supplier is navigating? These are questions that have to be answered when we are creating a digital experience. Now, let's look at some of the standard processes in an aspiring digital organization. I will run through this because the more important part of this presentation is for Salman to actually take you through the technology part of it and how some of these things are done on the ground. So you will notice that even before digital transformation in the slide, the expectations of functionality are very high. So it doesn't matter that whether you call it digital transformation or whether you call it computerization. We wanted smooth processes which made business as usual, ease of use, and speed of response. Now let's look at some of these processes in a digital workplace. Okay, so digital experience will target to move to a simple automated workplace, from a simple automated workplace to a digital workplace. As you can see, the expectations of a digital workplace much more sophisticated. The sophisticated user who embraces complex business environment but is navigating a business problem across it. So we based on all this, we have arrived at a few important digital touch points which most of our customers are talking about. While there may be many more, the objective is to to put before you what key industry leaders are talking about today, because we talk to customers and industry leaders across the country, and I think this is pretty much covers a large portion of what people are targeting when they talk about digital transformation and digital experience, etc. So now I've just put together a business architecture, and some of these things will be addressed even later in the presentation by Salman. So the business architecture and the architecture of services provided has multiple touch points. While the more important thing is that complexity is inevitable in today's digital scenario, but it's important for stakeholders to have ease of use to make digital experience successful. Does your business architecture make it easier for the stakeholder to interact digitally, right? Rather than pick up the phone and talk to his contact, which he's always been doing, right? So that is what the question is, which we have to ask ourselves, because otherwise, unless it's make it convenient for the user, the person who's actually using the technology to use it, he might find other ways of not being a participant in the digital experience journey. So at this stage, I'm just about to switch over to the next technology part, and I'll hand over to my colleague Salman. But I'll throw a few questions at him. Salman, I think you will have the answers to some of these, and I'd encourage you to talk extensively about most of this. So here are the questions that I'm throwing to him before I hand over to him. How do multiple digital touchpoints get addressed in a seamless digital experience? It's quite conceivable that many of my devices have multiple digital sources. How does a digital experience approach handle that? There are multiple digital sources for every device. How can technology be used to create loyalty, engage stakeholders both individually and in communities? So with these questions, I think I actually rushed through my part so that we can also discuss some of the solutions to it and also some of the case studies. So I'm handing over to Salman. So I'll pass on the baton to Salman and ask him to help us to climb this ladder of digital experience. I think where these are the four steps that I could think of. I'm sure Salman can take over from here and enlighten us on what is the approach that we CMS IT and Liferay together are bringing to the market in terms of our digital experience approach. Thank you, Salman. Thank you, everybody, and please ask questions through this presentation. We'll be happy to respond. And Salman, I'll encourage you to take over from here.
Sure. Thanks, Sunil. I think I need to be made presenter now.
Yes. Tom, are you making Salman the presenter? You want me to change presenter? Okay, done.
Great. I think my screen is now visible.
Yes, it is visible, Salman. Go ahead.
Yes, great. All right. So thanks, Sunil. And I think that was really well put up. And the digital challenges that Sunil was mentioning, I think it comes from experience, and I've seen those myself when we actually try to implement them, and when we actually try to model them through the technology, bring that experience back to the customer and create that one solution which can handle it all. I'd encourage others to please go on mute. All right, thank you. So all that said and done, that's really good. And the only question that we are all left with would be, how do we implement it, right? So we talked about consistent digital experience. We talked about, I remember Sunil mentioning complexity in this kind of scenario is inevitable. So how do we make it less complex? How do we make it more scalable? How do we make it, how do we create a solution or a platform that is more scalable and we can add more values through the technology to the customer? Now let's see that. So let's say if you come across a question like this, your architect or your technical team would basically start finding solutions across the industry, right? So probably the first stop that you make would be Gartner. So you'd go to Gartner seeking what are the best possible digital experience platform solutions which can help me create digital experiences for these various challenges that I've just understood. You will find that Liferay being one of those leaders, right? And you'd be surprised to know that Liferay has been a leader for digital experiences, or earlier it was used to be called as horizontal portals, for 10 consecutive years. Now that is an achievement which very few companies can claim to have. So Liferay has been there in the leaders, and he's been leading that industry for 10 consecutive years. And if you look at Liferay now, we are still in the leaders quadrant. And one more surprising fact about that is Liferay is the only open source DXP provider compared to all the other vendors out there in leaders. So that gives us an edge. That also gives us more flexibility that Sunil was talking about. The digital experience platform has to be more flexible. It has to be more agile in nature, so that it adapts to your business needs. And one fact that we all must agree to, and I think Sunil also mentioned it, which is digital transformation is not same for all the businesses, right? For some businesses, as Sunil said, just creating a website could be termed as digital transformation, but for other businesses, digital transformation grows from within, all the way from their processes to their organizational structures, to all the way up to their marketing, to their touch points of the business, their customer experiences, their dealer experiences, employee experiences, and so on. So with this heterogeneous nature of digital transformation, you cannot have a platform or a technology which is not flexible in nature. Otherwise, you will be adapting to it accordingly. For example, we have seen many ERP solutions that we don't change, or we don't expect that technology to change according to our businesses, but we rather change our businesses according to those technology because we have adopted it, right? So that doesn't really work in a scalable manner for digital experience platforms. Let's now understand how does Liferay enables you to do all of that, because we are now claiming Liferay to be the most flexible and integratable technology out there, or digital experience platform out there. And we will also see all these digital transformation challenges from an eye of Liferay, and see if that can help you understand how Liferay fits into all of this. So Liferay is one platform with endless solution offerings. Now, I want you to keep this always in mind when you come across term Liferay, that we are one horizontal platform which can offer you multiple solutions, right? I'm sure that there would be many people here who does not know about Liferay already. Unfortunately, we don't have enough time for within this webinar to really walk you through what Liferay technology is and what we do as a business and so on. I'll try to address that as we go along, but more importantly, I would try to tell you what kind of solutions you can create using Liferay and what kind of platforms that Liferay can produce. So Liferay is one platform with endless solutions, and we claim that Liferay is basically deliver a tailored solutions or tailored solution experience for your challenges on a flexible, integratable, or integrated digital experience platform. It is very important to have a thought on that flexible and integrated part of Liferay. As I told you, that Liferay is an open source, or probably the only open source digital experience platform which provides enterprise grade or enterprise quality application. Because it is open source, there comes the flexibility with it, right? And flexibility not just because it is open source, you get to get the entire source code and you can mold it the way you want to for your business. But also the open source nature provides flexibility for other softwares to be integrated as well. For example, you already know that there are many technologies such as JavaScript is evolving rapidly. And as again, Sunil mentioned, that technologies are evolving faster than ever now. And you see there are new frameworks coming in, whether it is in digital experiences, whether it is for CMS, for HTML, for IoT, for blockchain and other technologies. So you will find there are many frameworks coming in there, and open source is leading it from front. If the technology is not open source, it will become very difficult for OEMs to adopt to those new challenges or new frameworks. because of many constraints. So if you have seen Adobe or Microsoft of the world, their products are built in a way that there are only certain things that can be integrated with them from the product itself, from the product perspective itself. But for the open source, we don't get into such restrictions. We are allowed to integrate with any new technology comes in, which makes it far more flexible compared to the other competitors. The next aspect is integrated digital experience platform. Now, in order to claim that Liferay is the best integrated digital experience platform out there, you also need to understand heritage of Liferay. Liferay comes from portal background. So we were, as I said, that Gartner has been listing Liferay as the leaders for 10 consecutive years. You need to know that for first 7 consecutive years, Liferay was listed in horizontal portal category. Now, horizontal portals category has been discontinued by Gartner, and now they have digital experience category. And fortunately, we are also in the leaders quadrant there. So all these 7 years of portal experience with Liferay, right? So by the way, Liferay is about 20 years old product, but we created or we went out to market with an enterprise product about 10 years ago. Since then, we are the leaders of it. All right, so we are coming from portal background, and as you all know, that portals are supposed to be a platform or a product which needs to be integrated with legacy systems and other technologies. That's what portals are. So they integrate, they provide you an interface, and they integrate with multiple backend solutions, right? So Liferay is coming from that background. Liferay is coming from that heritage, and that makes Liferay possibly the best integratable digital experience platform, because now with that history and new technologies on top of it, it makes it a complete platform. Now let's look at what kind of challenges you can solve with Liferay, right? So I told you that it is one platform with endless solutions. So you need to name your challenge, and we have a solution ready for it. I have categorized it broadly into 4 categories so that you can understand what type of challenges which can be solved very easily with Liferay. So I'll start with increase B2B online revenue. So that is a commerce challenge we are talking about. Whether you have a need to place a manual purchasing with digital commerce to improve margin and meet your customer expectations, while you do that, you can create a Liferay experience on top of it, or rather you can build this entire solution on Liferay. And when I say it is B2B online revenue, it does not really stick to only B2B. You can go beyond B2B. You can offer B2C solutions. There are also B2B2C solutions that Liferay has offered, and we have our happy customers using those solutions from us, which means you can have a commerce offering which can easily be built on Liferay, and we already have an accelerator for that. It takes maybe less than a month to provide a solution on top of commerce or Liferay. The next category is creating customer experiences, or creating customer self-service experiences rather, right? So when I talk about creating self-service experiences, now quoting back to that Asian Paint example that Sunil was talking about, right? So he said that Asian Paint has been able to deliver to their dealers on regular basis. Now it cannot be possible without technology, right? And it would be very, very complicated if you have multiple solutions doing that one transaction, where Asian Paint is predicting what kind of color or what kind of material would be required for a particular dealer, while that dealer is ordering that, and while Asian Paint is providing that services to the dealer's doorstep. So you can imagine that there could be multiple solutions in there, but then having all of those solutions into one platform can make it a lot easier and much faster. So Liferay can provide those self-service type of experiences, and we have number of use cases doing that with us. For example, you can create a dealer portal, you can create a partner portal, you can create an agent portal, you can create customer portals, employee portals, and so on. So talking about employee portals or employee productivity, that leads us to the third category, which is drive employee productivity, right? So those days are gone where we used to have those those old-looking intranets. Nowadays, we are modernizing those intranets, and we are calling them as digital workplaces, right? And this situation, it's so funny that in the morning, I was having a call with one of the customers, and they said that intranet requirement are now becoming really higher because of the situation around the world, where people are now working from home. Most of them are working from home, which is now leading to a complete different set of challenges in the intranet portals. And we were anticipating these kind of challenges, of course, not anticipating the virus itself, but the challenges that employees could face in the future, where people start working from home a lot. People are now connecting from various devices and so on. So employee productivity is something which has been a constant improvement into digital industry, and I think it is now a time where most of the companies are investing in improving that experience. And Liferay is proud to be that one platform which can offer such experiences to the employees. The final one is unifying separate systems. Again, going back to the digital transformation challenge which Sunil pointed out, and also it can relate to the Asian Paint example that he gave, which is there would be a lot of legacy systems which Asian Paint could be having, or there could be a lot of legacy systems in general, that most of these transformation, most of these enterprises or government sectors which are undergoing transactions or transformations or digital transformations in general. So how do you connect them? How do you bring all of them into one platform? Or why do you even need to bring them to one platform? Is a question. Now the answer for that is, let's say if you bring them, let's say you have those legacy systems and you want to integrate them, and you have a separate siloed solution for that, which means you are still undergoing some sort of integration. Each of these siloed product would be having its own life cycle, which means, let's say there are 4 products integrated, which again Sunil was mentioning, interaction between machine to machine and machine to human is more complicated nowadays. It needs to be smoothened. So if you, let's say you have 4 solutions or 4 products talking to each other, and one of them has a 6 months major release life cycle, another one has 1 year or 2 years. So you will always face this constant challenges of being able to be up to date and upgrade your system. So Liferay becomes that one platform which can connect to all these different solutions, so that you don't have to worry about upgrading them individually. Rather, you just bring all the data into Liferay and do all that through Liferay itself. So now let's see how it looks like from 36,000 feet above. So if you look at Liferay as a company, we have 4 different products that we offer. So Liferay Digital Experience Platform is the one which I was describing just a while ago, which includes a CMS, which includes a DMS, which includes BPM type of solution, which is like workflow. It includes a personalization engine. It includes a lot of such technologies which otherwise you would be having siloed solutions. So all of those are clubbed, built into one platform, and that's called Digital Experience Platform from Liferay. Well, sometimes you would want your content to be unified and sent to the customers and allow them to order online. That's where your commerce accelerator on top of Digital Experience Platform can help you. We also need analytics to be not just for your traffic, not just for your CMS, not just for your website, but also you need analytics, which is happening all the way from your operations, and it is grown from within. So you need an analytics platform which can not only look at your traffic and pages and users and their interaction, but also it looks at your forms, it looks at your application data and how it is performing and so on. So that's something which Liferay can allow you to do when you want to know your audience through Liferay Analytics Cloud. And finally, if you want all of this to be all of this to be placed on cloud, and you want continuous integration and so on, so Liferay also have another product called Liferay DXP Cloud, which kind of wraps it into it. But it's not a mandatory product. Liferay technically it's a solution which can be deployed on premise as well, but it's just a choice that you can go to Liferay Cloud as well. Now, elaborating the discussion we just had, this is just to summarize what kind of touch points you can bring with Liferay. Remember a question from Sunil. He asked, how does a digital experience platform can bring in this diversified experiences from various devices, whether it is IoT or other devices which is producing such data, and be able to deliver it in a consistent manner. So that's exactly where you need a digital experience platform. So the way we do it, the way Liferay does it, is Liferay has headless architecture and microservices platform on which it is built on top of, and we connect with IoT devices. We connect with there's something called smart factory in manufacturing. There are smart cities being produced or being built, and we have our use cases there as well. We connect to those devices. We bring in data into one platform. Most of the time what happens is IoT devices would be having their own command and control centers, which means a person sitting and monitoring those devices would be looking at multiple monitors, multiple dashboards, and driving a conclusion or a meaningful information out of it becomes difficult. So what Liferay does is it brings all of that into one place and generates some sort of reports or creates dashboards, so that your job as a monitoring or an administrator becomes much easier, where you can drive more conclusions. On top of that, you could create web platforms, you could create mobile applications, you have your ERP system, you have your customer database, and you have your marketing technology. And this summarizes pretty much every industry you look out there. So they would be having, whether it is manufacturing, insurance, bank, or whatever. So they would be having their web platform, which serve their websites and intranet portals and so on. They would be having a mobile application. They would be having an ERP solution. They would be having their own customer database or their transactional database. And finally, they would be having their own marketing technology that they use. All of that can be fed into Liferay, and Liferay can generate various touch points, which not only looks consistent, but also are very much tied to each other, which means updating one can update all of them at once. That also solves a lot of problems in terms of delivery, in terms of going live, going to market, total cost of ownership, and so on. So you feed all that into Liferay. Liferay will then produce smartphone applications, intranets, product interfaces, public websites, customer portals, partner sites, process automations, and so on. So this is one of the use cases. This is one of the visualization that you can have for Liferay. Other one is this, and again, it is the same thing presented in a different way, which is for any company or any enterprise out there, you'd be having users, you'd be having applications, you'd be having integrations, and you would be having some sort of search functionality to search across all of this. And this is how the architecture can be laid out. So you see users can interact with user interfaces, which is then having controllers, platforms, and so on. Even if you don't go with a solution like Liferay, you would probably end up building something like this. The fact here is all of this is already built, and it is it is placed in one platform. When I say all of this, I'm talking about that platform services, which is persistence layer, caching, authentication, authorizations, searching, workflows, CMS, which is content management services, DMS, document management services, auditing, messaging, everything is in one platform, one single platform for Liferay digital experience platform. To wrap it up, remember this diagram from Sunil. He mentioned that, okay, we kind of propose this kind of architecture for various businesses out there, where we have layered approach towards it, and it maps into different technologies of Liferay. And you can see Liferay, one platform, can produce multiple solutions for this type of business architecture at various levels, whether it is tier all the way at the top, where creating that experiences. When I talked about Liferay producing that headless architecture, Liferay producing those various CMS and DMS components to be able to create experiences, and it goes all the way down to tier 3, where we are using analytics cloud, we are using other types of integrations to enable customer analytics, sales and marketing analytics, finance, supply chain analytics, and so on. Finally, going back to the questions raised again, so if you see the way Liferay can help you create that omnichannel experience is through Liferay experience management and personalizations. You can create nurturing customer communities through Liferay integration framework and customizations. Liferay has its headless architecture, which allows you to provide connected services through your connected devices like IoT. User experience is, again, as I said, Liferay coming from a CMS and DMS background, so we are the best in the market today, providing all type of latest Java scripting and HTML technologies to improve user experiences. And finally, the loyalty program. So loyalty program, as I said, Liferay is coming from Portal, and we already have a loyalty program within us. And now this is very important. I might take like 1 minute to really explain it to you. And this is where it becomes very important to have one platform for everything. Let's consider you had a separate platform for dealer portal, and you had a separate platform for customer portal. You had a separate platform for your website and a separate platform for your backend application. How do you create a loyalty experience for one person who is with a 360-degree view? Let's say if I'm a dealer and I'm also a customer to you, and let's say I'm also interacting with your business application. So all these three are built on different platforms, which makes it a lot difficult to collect that information and create a loyalty program for that customer, which makes it very easy for platforms like Liferay, which provides all of this through a single platform. To end with, let me give you some quick examples or quick use cases of Liferay. I think you all already know that Federal Bank is one of the largest bank in India. They use Liferay for their CMS, and the way Liferay has been able to transform them digitally is now they could actually create application. They can create marketing banner through their mobile phones, and then push it to live as soon as they create one. They can also now create and allow their customers to interact with them through chatbots and applications like that. The reason I've taken this example is, as Sunil mentioned, for few application or few enterprises, digital experience or digital transformation could be as good as just allowing customers to interact with them digitally. Another example where digital experience, digital transformation has happened from within, where I was talking about transforming your business through your processes, through your organization, then bringing it up to the digital touch points and so on. So Neogen is the best example of that. Neogen is a microfinance organization, and their entire operation runs on Liferay, but all the way from their websites to within their intranet, their organizational structures are now more digitized. Their data and applications are more integrated, and so on. And finally, you have cases like Hyundai. Hyundai has more than 250, or I think more than 625 dealers. I'm not able to collect the number. It is somewhere close to 400 to 600 dealers. All of them have their own microsite built on top of Liferay, and you only need 1 or 2 Liferay instances to create so many microsites. Though that is also another great functionality for digital transformation, to be able to provide multi-tenancy for your dealers, because you'd be having hundreds of dealers, but you are the only one manufacturer. So in this case, Liferay was able to give them that multi-tenancy experience for all their dealers. They can now have their own websites. So with that, let's conclude this session. I first of all thank you all for joining us today, especially people who are online right now. I know it's hard for all of us working from home, connecting through our poor internet and so on. As Sunil said, there could have been some challenges in your reception, but we will be recorded. We have this session recorded. We will be uploading it to the portal, and you will receive it through LinkedIn and through other channels to you. And now let's open the questions. I see there are a few. I think there aren't any.
Yeah.
So we'll open.
There are 2 questions. This is Sunil here, Salman. There are 2 questions. There are 3 questions, in fact, so far, and there.
Sure.
So I'll take one of them, and I'm passing on the other 2 back to you, if that's okay with you, right?
All right.
The one question we have is, the platform can also help to integrate to existing portals also. But one quick question: how about the stakeholders using the particular portal, sales portal? Will they see any physical difference in the portal compared to the scenario where they are managing such portals without DXP? Now, The answer to the question is, I think essentially what the person who's asked the question is asking is that will there be any physical change, any look and feel change in the portal, or navigational change in the portal because we are using DXP now? The answer to the question, if you ask me, is yes and no. First of all, we are a DXP platform, so we can pretty much make it to mirror what's going on today. But the idea of going for a full-fledged experience portal is two things. One is that the options for creating a greater user experience is so much that you might want to change some of the things that you're doing today simply in the interest of better customer experience or better user experience, better employee experience. Now, you might want to change. Secondly, also you're using in today's scenario, you might be using using it for one particular portal or for a web app separately. Now, what we can do here is that we can manage your experience across multiple omni-channel experience. Manage your omni-channel experience, whether you're using app or you're using a phone, whether you're using a responsive site, etc. All these things will fit into one user experience. And so in that sense, while it is not necessary that you have to change your look and feel, I think the look and feel, you will be better off changing it because you're investing in a very great product or a platform which can give you that much of flexibility. Now, I understand the question comes from the point of view that a lot of people, there might be a change management that is required. So typically, wherever we do these kind of implementations, we manage change in such a way that the disruption factor is very, very low for the user. And wherever there is disruption, it's actually a positive disruption where there is a wow factor that the user takes back. And so in that sense, if you plan it out well, that underlying concern of yours will be addressed. Okay. So Salman, you can add to this in terms of your answer, but also there is one more question. I think we'll take just one more question, Salman. I think there are a few other questions, but we'll take one more. If Salman can elaborate on how Liferay can provide solution for IoT and AI platform capabilities, right? So I think he's talking to you about basically what are the
connected services.
Yeah, whether there are connected services and whether the APIs that you can consume APIs or you can provide APIs, etc. So please take that question, and the others we'll try and respond separately because I don't think there's time for more than one more question now.
All right. Okay, so I'll take that IoT question quickly. I did have something to add on to your answer, Sunil, but I would not do that. It might take some time. So for IoT, now if you look at, let me take a simple example of a smart city, because Bhopal is smart city. If you know, there are a couple of projects in the smart city which are already initiated, and Liferay has, I think, out of 22 bids last year, Liferay has won 2 of them, and the others are still pending. So we haven't lost it, but we have won 2, I think 3 smart city RFPs already in India. And one of them is Bhopal, I think, and the requirement there, and usually this is the requirement you would see not just for a smart city but also for smart factory or smart other smart solutions out there, where you would be having number of IoT solutions. So there could be IoT devices wearing people wearing that. I mean, the people who clean the roads in the morning, they are going to get some wristbands with some IoT connected there. There would be some smart IoT enabled garbage collectors and so on, right? So the problem with having such a large set of IoT devices and surveillance cameras and things like that is all of them come from different vendors, and they will be having their own consoles. In order to interact with them, you need to really log into a different system. Those dashboards are also very like old way of interacting, like mainframe type of computers still, because they don't really focus on experiences or visualizations of it. The point here is Liferay would not provide an actual IoT device to you, but rather Liferay can be that platform where all those IoT devices, where they need to send all that data to some place, right? And that's not something which is given by the IoT vendor itself. They will give you a device, they will give you APIs to interact with it. but they will not give you a place where all this data can be dumped and analyzed and so on, right? So that is command and control centers that again you would find various products out there with which can do this for you. For example, there are Cisco's of the world who are investing heavily, IBM's, and so on. But what Liferay can do is Liferay has a headless architecture which can consume all of that data, and we also have integrations with AI ML platforms and so on. So there are various talks around Liferay and AI ML and so on. So you can check it out on YouTube or Google it around. So from Liferay, the way we are enabling that smart city is Liferay is that one interface where admins, citizens, state officials, government officials would log in, and they log in and to see different types of information. When admin log in, they can see that the garbage collected from this particular area in terms of kgs. Smart garbage collector, they can then decide on whether only 200 dustbins are good enough, or maybe 500 more needs to be installed. They can understand what route that garbage collection van should take, and so on. So this is just one aspect of smart city. There are others like parking lot automations, traffic signals, railway track signals, and so on. So you could bring all of that information into one platform, and then you can understand and take collective decisions across this. For example, sometimes there could be a decision needs to be taken which connects two different streams. Like one is your garbage collection, and another could be your parking lot. What if there is a problem within the parking lot for garbage collection, right? But if these two are separate platform and built on two different platform, and their data is not collected into single place, it becomes very hard to deal with situations such as that. So that is where Liferay can help you. It becomes that is basically how the digital experience platforms works. So these are these single platform which connects to your backend and front-end systems. Sometimes they offer their own front-end system, sometimes they offer their own backend system, but usually they connect to all of them, collect your data into one place, and then give you some meaningful insights through that. I hope that answers the question.
Salman, we will wind up now. I think we have taken a little extra time. Thank you everyone for your time, and if you have any questions, you can always reach out to us. And some of you would have faced some connection issues and lost the audio in between, and we would be sharing the recorded version with you soon. Thank you.